Okay.
So, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Plot Margaret. Welcome to earGROUND, New Voices Amplified. This is the platform where we get to speak to creatives and people that are working in the creative sector about different issues. And for a couple of days, if not a week or two or three or four, we've been talking about the Creative ZW Unlocked. This is a survey that is happening that involves the identification of the needs within the creative sector as a way of mapping and documenting. I'll spare much of the narrative to my guest. I'll be speaking to Chenesai Mangoma from Connected Sahara. Thank you so much and welcome to
Hi,
you.
Plot.
How are you?
Thank you so much, Plot. No, thank you so much for taking the call, one. And number two, thank you very much for inviting us on your platform and the work that you're doing in the creative sector of Zimbabwe. I know you're not based in Zimbabwe, but really and truly, it's so commendable because we all need all hands on deck. Creatives that are based everywhere else need to kind of show a light for some of our creatives back here to illustrate the importance of the creative sector and how it can actually be a sustainable career for a lot of people. And they can get married, take care of families, being creatives. So that's very important. And so I want to say thank you for that. At Connected Sahara, our overall aim with the work of Connected Sahara is to connect the entrepreneur ecosystem. And part of the ecosystem involves working with hubs, and at times we work directly with entrepreneurs. And the idea we are saying is we are connecting towards commercial viability. And we are working in an amazing team. We've got an amazing team of 9 people that are all hands on deck with great experience in different sectors that are working to strategize, to think about ways in which we can add value to our creative sector. So it's really a service kind of job, working with both entities, private, government, across all sectors in a collaborative manner. And part of our work is to create platforms that people, creators can participate in, entrepreneurs can participate in, and their voice can be heard. And number 2, it's to have public programming. So to host public events that work towards public programming in the different deficit areas in the creative sector. And number 3 is to also do ecosystem mapping events, such as the one that's happening right now, where we're working on creative, the entrepreneur ecosystem, mapping out the ecosystem of the creative sector of Zimbabwe in partnership with British Council and being implemented by Andani Africa and Savannah Trust.
Wow.
Why are we doing?
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. Yes. Why are you doing this? And also break it down for me. I mean, when I hear ecosystem, I'm thinking of biology. Where does this fit in when it comes to the creative economy?
This is a very fundamental question, Plot, and I think I'll answer that. Why are we doing this? You think of ecosystem, you think of biology. Very good, because I think if we even diagnose it from a biological perspective, where an ecosystem exists because every part in that ecosystem plays its part. So we're saying if you map an ecosystem where you have the ants, they do their job, you've got the different, you've got the elephants that do their job, you've got the vultures that do their job. We're saying in an ecosystem, if there is a clearly defined value chain, you will get more output from it. So the ecosystem of the creative sector for us is how do designers work with musicians, for instance, to increase the beauty of their music videos? And how do poets work with musicians when they write scripts, right? And importantly, where do you find these good poets? And where do you find these good designers, right? So value chain, ecosystem. So once you understand where the players are and what role they play, everyone will be able to collaborate meaningfully. Part of the value system of Connected Sahara is the idea of inclusivity. We're saying collaboration is happening in the sector, in the creative sector, but not at scale, because most people don't know where people are, and most of their talent is unidentified and unmapped, which is why it's very important if you have a product and you're creative to be on the map, because otherwise, how are people going to know you have a product to offer, right?
Interesting.
So it's so essential that for meaningful collaboration and sustainable collaboration in any society, you want to encourage and inspire collaboration that cuts across divides,
Yeah.
across different backgrounds and different skill sets. So you want to see people from, for instance, Mbare
Yes.
collaborating with people from Borodale Brook, people from Borodale Brook collaborating with people from Buluwayo, people from
Yes.
Buluwayo collaborating with people from Mutare. It's hard to identify when it's not, when you don't know where these people are found.
Wow. Great. And I mean, you touched on so many very fundamental issues there. For a very long time, there's been a conversation within the creative space in Zimbabwe that actually there is no industry to talk about, and it's still a debatable issue. But um, this survey that you're doing, it aims to unlock potential, and you've talked about the possibilities to collaborate, to work together as creatives. But for me, maybe I'm an artist. I'm content. I'm working in Dombotombo, or I'm working there, in Gurube. Maybe I'm thinking, why should I actually participate in this kind of a survey? Why should I be part of it? Why should I even? Uh, okay, I could list my services and be seen, but why should I? Why should I be part? This is the question that I might be having.
I think this digs deep into the whole idea of the argument of informal sector and formal sector. Why should I register my
Yes,
business so that the tax guy comes to find me?
that's the thinking.
And this is really the reality of it. Most informal sectors and most creatives fall in that informal sector sphere. And the fear of, you see, we can't lobby meaningfully for tax exemption, for instance, without numbers. So if we identify that, you know what, we've got 500 creators in Zimbabwe, they're barely making $1,000 a month, right? The only way we can now strategically approach government, for
Yes.
example, is if we have the numbers and we've got the people. And then we say, look, can we have a tax exemption zone for the next 3 years? Because we want our creatives to build their businesses up so that they can become loyal taxpayers. But we can't even approach the argument when you don't know where you are and what you're doing. And also, it's a fallacy of thought to be content in business. The only constant in business is growth, right? And you cannot grow. At some point, you reach diminishing returns when you're working in a specific space. Even if you want to partner with entities outside of your jurisdiction, like outside Zimbabwe, most people want some type of paper trail, right? Okay,
True,
so
true.
where do we find you? If we want to look for our money, where are you based, right? As much as you're doing great work now, we
Yes.
are propositioning that you can do greater work with a bit more transparency as well as visibility.
Great. And talking about creatives, talking about art, for a lot of people, they might think I have to be a musician. I just have to be maybe a painter. What sort of elements of art are you covering? Can I, as a music producer, can I also be part of this? Who else can be part of this?
Okay. So, you know, the creative sector is ever evolving. There are so many genres that come up. And, you know, there's always this definition: what is creativity? What is a creative sector? What is actually, who is a creative? And basically, a creative is someone who employs, you can employ art to solve existing a problem in society. So
Yes.
you could be a painter, you could be a designer, you could be a poet, you could be so many different things. The whole idea is, are you in using your creative intellect to solve a pressing issue? And sometimes people undermine that when people paint, they're actually telling a story, right?
Yes. True.
And if you look at even the sculptures we have, the visual arts in Zimbabwe, the sculptures we have, if you ask the sculptors, they will tell you the story that goes back days. If you look at work of designers, like for instance, right now, a House of Stone is doing putting out some great work out there. There
Mm.
is a story that has inspired her designs, right? So if you are using your creativity to solve a problem in a very unorthodox way, it's not an
Yes.
accounting methodology. It's out of the box. Then register. Don't try to define yourself too much. Just understand a creative is a thought leader that employs artistic skills to solve existing problems. Register. And I think it's an open-ended question. It would be arbitrary for us to classify the creative sector because
Yes.
that's when we stop creating.
Wow, that's quite powerful. That's quite powerful. Now we're left with 48 hours before this closes. Um, what entails the process afterwards? I've participated, I've taken part. Am I going to access the results as a creative? Am I going to know what came out of the survey, or is something that will be, difficult to access?
Absolutely. Remember the reason why we are bringing creatives to the table, and the reason why Andani and Savannah Trust did a desktop study, and I think Ellen O'Hara did a desktop study, and then came to the field to do field work, is because the work that they are doing is for the creative sector. This is not going to be a secret. The whole idea of us working with British Council and having the implementing partner is because we want to make sure that these results will be resourceful to the creative sector. However, it won't be resourceful if we don't participate. Otherwise, it's going to be another project that just comes and
Yes.
goes. So the whole idea of the project, for its effectivity,
Mhm.
does that exist? I have no idea. If for it to have full effect, we actually need people to come on the table and participate, because you're the same people, the same creatives such as you and I are the ones that will come back and challenge it, and it remains an ongoing process. So a map, for instance, if we take a map of Harare, right?
Yes.
Um, Once we have drawn a map today, it's not going to be the same a year later.
Yeah, true,
We're going to
true.
have to revisit that map and update it. So please take part, and also take part on the dialogue that ensues the results, so that we continue updating the ecosystem of our creative sector.
Wow. Talking about another report, another research, these are also some of the questions from my circles that have been popping up. Some said, look, we once took part in another research, in another survey that was done. I think it was Nimbe Trust and Culture Fund. They did another survey.
Yeah.
Is there a connection to that, or these are, continuous surveys that are happening? Is there a relationship? Is there a build up? Does this relate if I put in
Absolutely.
information before now? Yeah.
So when it was very interesting when the implementing partner started working, they resource, and this is where the desktop work comes in. They resource the work that had already been done in the ecosystem. And every time when you're trying to build up on a map, remember I keep using the word build up. We're
Yes.
not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to resource what's there and now seeing how do we heighten it. So part of
Okay,
the work
good.
that was done by Nimpet Trust and Cultural Fund were some of the founding documents which were
Awesome.
used in these activities. So no, it's not just another, it's a build up. And the reason why I suppose there is that gap in knowledge is once the document comes out, we don't put as much energy in celebrating the results and interrogating the results and seeing how we can implement them in our different practices. So what we are saying is when the results come out, we're going to use as equal energy as we use
Yes.
to put the result, to get the information, in putting out the results, sharing it with our partners. And every partner is a creative. A creative is a partner in this
Yes.
job. Every one of us. They should know what the findings are, because they have the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe we can take this opportunity and run with it. Or maybe, you know what, we need to think about this a little bit more. So we need to look at this as the start of the conversation that becomes a
Interesting.
factual basis for our creative sector.
Wow. That's quite great. I've been enlightened and empowered. I think that was,
So,
yeah, because I had so many questions, and these are my questions like, another survey. Okay, what then happens? And if I put in my data, will I be able to access the report? But you've answered all of those important questions. And now, your last word to somebody who's watching right now, who's going to participate in this survey, what would you want to say to them?
I would like to say, guys, you see these rings under these eyes, the tired
Yeah.
eyes. This is based from sleepless nights because we need to find solutions.
Mhm.
Creatives need solutions. I think we are in a time where the creative economy is growing worldwide. Coronavirus has really hit us hard, and it's going to hit
Yes.
the creative sector the most. But the only reason why it's going to hit the creative sector the most is because we don't have systems and processes in place,
Yeah.
right? We should have been the sector that saves the world from the coronavirus. Because you know what we are as creatives? We are social scientists. We understand how to communicate with people. We know how people understand messages. If
Yes.
we could just harness all those skills, if you could sit back, right now we're on lockdown, we're staying home,
Yes.
and we're staying together apart,
Yes.
um, is really take the time to think and understand that you play a very vital role in communication. No matter what, whether you're using a comedy, whether you're using fashion, right now your voice matters. It will matter yesterday, it mattered
Yes.
today, and it will matter tomorrow. The question is, are you going to use your voice? And sometimes, because we need a system of communication, it's like Dare 101 in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Kana makagara padare, vakuru vanotanga kutaura. And then vozoti iri muzhevere yodzikiswa kuvadiki.
That's
That's we need to have a system of communication as creative so that when something like this comes up, our system knocks in and we say, guys, let's organize campaigns. This is what needs to go into these campaigns. Let's work with the United Nations. Let's work with who? For as long as we don't have clear systems and processes, we're not going to be able to harness and capture some of these opportunities when they come knocking. So
right.
please really think about what role you play. Take this survey, put your name on the map, and no, this is not a drill. This is reality. We need to organize ourselves, and it starts with us.
Wow, quite profound. They are harnessing the energy and the potential that we have right now. The digital innovation, the digital space
Yeah,
is playing a very huge role, especially on the
yeah,
lockdown. And I think post lockdown, it's going to be like that. And with the digital map that identifies and gives you space and locates you where you are, I think
yeah,
it has come so timely at a time when
yeah,
uh, we definitely needed a platform like that so that we are able to be seen. Because like you said, at times it's difficult to really tell who's there, in Ichikanga, who is in Dangamvura, who is in Glenview. But if there's a map, I think that also indicates the sectors and who's working in that area. I think it's for the creative to benefit. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to speak to you.
thank you
And
so much, Vlad.
thank you so
Please
much.
keep up the amazing work. We really look up to you and we truly appreciate you.
I really appreciate those words. And to everybody who's been watching, stay tuned. My name is Plot Marco and the earGROUND New Voices Amplified. I've been speaking to super awesome Chenesai Mangoma from Connected Sahara, who is part of the Creative ZW Unlocked research, survey research on the creative industry in Zimbabwe, as well as they're doing a mapping. So you can easily list yourself there. Just go on andani.africa. That's all you need to do. You can see both the survey for entrepreneurs in the creative scene and also for the artists, diverse artists from music, dance, theater, you name it, anything that qualifies, you can fill it in. And until next time, stay tuned. New Voices Amplified. I'm out.
Bye, Vlad. All right,
Wow, thank you
cheers.
so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, great. Let me